Okay, I'm going to begin by asking what it was about this James's story that just initially appealed to you both as storytellers.
Well, I felt like when I read the book initially, what I loved about it was the rhythm in which he wrote it, but it also, takes you on such a journey of desperate times, darkness and despair, but the hope is continuous throughout the book, and there's light and there's laughter and there's humour, as well as devastation and tears. And so that really is what I felt I wanted to carry into the movie.
Obviously, it's working together for the first time since Nowhere Boy. I mean, how was that experience? Because, I mean, did you have to leave work back at the set? Because, I mean, in the sense that, or is it good to come home in the evening and still speak about the project, to speak about it? Or do you think it was actually better to kind of have that separation between
well,
home
on this, there was no time.
I was going to say, we didn't really have much of an evening once we got back. It was just like, get some sleep and up early and then
Yeah,
there was.
I mean, this was really, we shot this in 20 days, so that is an extremely tight schedule and very condensed time. And so we would just go home, and because we wrote it and produced it, we'd have to take off director hat and actor hat and put on producer, writer, and make sure everything was set up for the next day.
Budget meetings in lunch breaks, and then in the evenings we'd be probably going over a new shot list for the next day. So yeah,
it would be up till whatever time with the cinematographer working out. So there was never a sense of leaving it behind and shedding the skin of it. We had to be in that skin, for
the whole duration.
Yeah,
because I mean, obviously you need to trust your leading man, and you have to trust your director, particularly in a story like this. I mean, it must help so much when that trust is built in and kind of it's so implicit between you already.
Yeah, absolutely. I think every actor wants to have trust with their director because it gives you a freedom to explore and experiment, and that's what we did in this movie. And to both of our sort of strengths, and we sort of push each other and complement each other, and I think that was definitely the challenge and also the joy of doing this movie together.
I was reading about the whole sort of controversy surrounding James Frey and the sort of Oprah sort of episode, which I've got to be honest, I didn't actually...
a French fry.
Yeah, that completely passed me by at the time. But I was just wondering, with that in mind, did you feel like you were adapting a piece of fiction, or did it still feel like you were telling his real story? Because obviously he's admitted that he embellished a few parts of it, which is, but some people aren't too keen on, some people don't seem to mind. But how did you treat it? Did you treat it like a piece of fiction, or was it very much still his real story?
No, I think we were. I mean, we just saw it. The story was from the book, and I think, if anything, it gave us room to have creative, artistic interpretation, and in a world of freedom.
Well, James said, I wrote this book as art, and I want you to treat it like an art piece for yourself. And so in that sense, it gave me completely a sort of free license to be creative in that sense. And condensing a book of 500 pages down to, a 90-minute film or so, meant that so much of the book is condensed. There are different characters that come into one, so we were really given sort of creative free license.
And I found, frankly, I've never been in the same situation as he was, but I found myself really relating to the character as well. And I can, what do you think an audience's route is into the character? Because I mean, most people that see this hopefully wouldn't have been through the same things he's been through. Yeah. But what is it about that addiction in film that you think can appeal to people who might not have been through it themselves?
Well, you always want to feel empathy for the lead character going through, but it doesn't mean necessarily, like you said before, like a likable character. I think it's kind of important to have that authenticity to someone who's an addict, who might be reluctant or cynical in the process of trying to become sober and go through those steps and not believe in it or not believe in themselves, or have that struggle, and that was important. And I think when you sort of see those building blocks go through and he starts to make a progression, do you start to sort of feel as an audience you want to root for that character and go, I want to see you get through, I want to see you triumph now. So it's hugely important. Yeah.
And my final question is for you, Aaron. I was just wondering, because I mean, you're obviously working with Chris Nolan on his new project. So, I mean, I was reading that's filming now. I mean, what I was going to ask you is, what can you tell me about this? But my probably better way to phrase it is, what you're allowed to tell me about that. Absolutely nothing. I did think that might be the case. So, how about the King's Man? Because I know you're in that as well. Can you shed any more light on that one?
I can't really tell you anything about that either, too.
It's bloody big films in there.
I don't know.
Well, anyway, well, thanks so much for your time. Cheers, thank you.
Thank you.
That's on, thanks.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
It was worth a go, though. You never know. You just never know.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys.
Hey You Guys, huh?
Hey You Guys.
Is that from the Goonies?
It is indeed, yes.
Nice.
Hey You Guys!